Hello, my Built for 1000 Nation. How's everyone doing today? Hopefully, everyone's had a great day. If not, I hope it gets better from here. All right, we are back with another Mr. Ballin video. Mr. Ballin Classic, you know. This one is titled The Disturbing Final Moments of the Jamison Family. And yes, I picked this one out, and it is a little bit shorter of a video, but I have learned that does not really matter with a Mr. Ballin video. It can be just as disturbing as his long ones. Oh, all right, I'm excited. We're probably all going to get traumatized, but it's okay, you know. I'm glad I could be that person. All right, let's go ahead and get into today's story. Go ahead, turn them lights down low, put on something comfy, cuddle up with someone special. Let's get disturbed. Yeah, it's already in the title. Might as well use it.
Normally, if you're trying to solve a mystery, if you can gather more information and gather more evidence, it will make it easier for you to solve that mystery. But in today's story, that's not the case. You have a whole family that suddenly goes missing under very suspicious circumstances, and 10 years later, we still have no clue what happened to them, despite a plethora of information and evidence gathered, including a very famous videotape that shows them walking in a trance-like state right before they go missing. But before we get into that family story...
Who took the video? All right, oh crap. This is gonna be like some Blair Witch shit, like classic Blair Witch, not that new shit that came out with. And don't get me started on that new Blair Witch. It was good, like it was scary, but I'm sorry. When it comes to scary movies, you can't beat the classics, like Rosemary's Baby and stuff like that. Like, the original Chucky's scared the shit out of me whenever I was little. Watch them now, I laugh at them. I mean, I'm older, a little bit more deranged than what I used to be, I reckon. I don't know. But all those new movies they come out with, even whenever they remake classic movies and try to stick with the same storyline, it's like they try to make it more gory and graphic than just like scare the shit out of you. I'm sorry. When I'm done watching a scary movie, I should walk away from the movie saying, damn, I wish I wore my brown pants today.
If you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, then you've come to the right place, because that's all I do, and I upload 3, 4, even 5 times every week. So if that's of
Mr. Ballin Classic.
interest to you, please replace the like button's shampoo with Nair hair remover, and also subscribe to my channel and turn on all notifications.
That's what happened. That's what happens.
Don't miss any of those weekly uploads.
Like I tell people, I do have hair. I choose to be bald, but you know, why cover that beautiful dome with just hair? I mean, I got enough down here. I don't need the hair up there. You know, my brain got so big, my hair was like, no, this guy flourish and breathe, so it just all moved down here. Yeah.
All right, let's get into today's story. In 2009, the Jamison family, which was Bobby, who was 44, Sherilyn, who was 40, and their daughter Madison, who was 6 years old, were living in Eufaula, Oklahoma, on lakefront property. While they seemed to be living a simple and happy life, behind the scenes, their life was in turmoil. Bobby suffered from bad chronic back pain that he had as a result of a car accident that he was in 2003. Sherilyn was bipolar. She was medicated for it, but she didn't always take her meds, causing her to lash out at her family members, and it caused bouts of severe depression. Bobby and Sherilyn also believed that their house was haunted by 3 or 4 spirits who lived on their roof. Bobby was so convinced of this that he went to his pastor and asked where he could buy special bullets that he could shoot at these spirits. So for all of these reasons, the Jamison family was actually looking to leave their property in Eufaula and move somewhere else and hopefully start all over again fresh.
I'm trying not to laugh. But this man went to a priest to ask where to buy special bullets to shoot ghosts. They're not werewolves. They're not vampires. I'm not saying werewolves and vampires exist, but I'm not saying they don't. Alright? But we all know silver for werewolves, wood stake for vampires. I don't think you can shoot something you can see through. I think what movie was that? R.I.P.D. with Ryan Reynolds. Yeah, I don't think they make that kind of shit. If they do, oh, hey, who wants to go in business? We can make ghost bullets.
With a new shot at happiness. After the Jamisons would vanish, their family and friends would say, "We had no idea any of this was happening. We had no idea they were even considering a move." Now, this move they were considering was not a typical move. They were not looking to move into another house. They were looking to move onto a piece of property where they could place their storage container and live in the storage container until at some point they were going to build a house on a mountain and then move into the house. And they had actually already found a plot of land about 30 miles away from where they were currently living in a town called Red Oak. Now,
That's not a bad idea, though. I mean, you see it all the time. I mean, watch YouTube. People make them little tiny homes out of them storage units. I mean, worst case scenario, they could have started them a YouTube channel and they just did it, you know? Hey, now, I mean, there's not a thing wrong with being a little off-grid, especially in today's world. I've seen in the news the new purge law. You want us out there see that shit? Oh, my God. Oh, never. Oh, damn. Whew.
storage container itself that they planned on living in was actually sitting on their property in Eufaula, and it drew a lot of attention from the neighbors because Sherilyn would graffiti on it, "The neighbors have poisoned our cats. Witches don't like it when you kill their cats," because it turns out Sherilyn believed that she was a witch. So unsurprisingly, the neighbors avoided the Jamison family at all cost. Several weeks before the Jamison family went missing, they actually brought in a male boarder, so a guy that was going to live with them and help with manual labor in exchange for room and board. The boarder was a white supremacist that immediately took exception to Sherilyn, who was part Native American. And so anytime Bobby was out of the house, the white supremacist boarder would get into a fight with Sherilyn. And one day it came to a head and Sherilyn drew a gun on the boarder and said to leave the property or she was going to shoot him. The boarder refused to leave, and so Sherilyn began firing shots into the ground at his feet until he left. Now, once the Jamison family disappeared, this white supremacist boarder became one of the primary suspects. But when the FBI found him, he had a rock-solid alibi and was quickly crossed off the list of potential suspects. On October 8th, 2009, Bobby, Sherilyn, their daughter Madison...
Why a white supremacist? Why? What the... Oh my God. Oh shit. Oh. Why a white supremacist? Why? That, you know, it's going to be trouble for your old lady and probably your kid too. I mean, oh, sweet baby Jesus.
And their dog, Maisie, load up the truck and they start driving towards Red Oak. They were apparently going to go scout out this piece of property that they wanted to purchase to live on with the storage container. Now, according to family and friends, it was not uncommon for the Jamisons to vanish for several days at a time without telling anybody where they went. And it would turn out that they would go into the woods for these retreats where they would get away from technology and the city. When they were gone for a few days and no one had heard from them, no one thought twice.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm a firm believer, like, ask my kids, I'll go downstairs and I'll turn, like, the power off. Except for the refrigerator and my coffee pot. And we will sit in there and we'll light lanterns and play board games and stuff like that. No technology, no power, just a break from everything. I'm a firm believer. You have to. Sometimes you just have to. Like, everyone gets way too dependent on, coming from the person who YouTubes, everyone gets way too dependent on technology anymore. Sometimes you just gotta get back to some roots. Like, what was the kicker? I'll tell you the kicker. The kicker for me was power was out. It was wintertime, if I'm not mistaken. It was out for almost a week. And the only thing my kids would bitch about is, Dad, where's the Wi-Fi? Not the fact that there was no power. Not the fact that, everything could freeze and, it was all cool. Coolers was outside, full of ice. When, everything was still good. Like, it was all fine. I cooked everything on the grill. I mean, we had a fandango of a time. But where's the Wi-Fi? Well, the power's out. Well, what's that got to do with Wi-Fi? You got to have power to have Wi-Fi, bud. Can we get a generator for the Wi-Fi? No. The generator is being used for the refrigerator and the TV. No. Well, how are we going to watch TV without Wi-Fi? I was this far away from pulling out a VCR and beating them with it. What is wrong with you people? So yeah, I'm a firm believer. Sometimes you just gotta take a step away, and you don't have to do it all the time. And for some people, it's not for them. It is what it is. But I do. Power goes off to everything but the refrigerator. I went through and marked them, and whenever I do that, I take the coffee pot over, plug it in to where the wall is with the refrigerator, and that little section will stay on, and that is it. Everything else is off. They hated it at first. I'm not even gonna lie, but after doing it for so long, like, they get excited for it. We'll sit down, play Monopoly, Trouble, Uno. Sorry, we start playing Uno Attack, Dose. Dose is fun, and the ones with the challenges and stuff, and they love it. So, hey, it works. You don't get enough family time with Wi-Fi involved. You don't. How's your kids? I don't know. Let me FaceTime them real fast. Hey, bud. No.
On top of this, Bobby and Sherilyn had informed Madison's school that they'd be pulling her out of class because they were going to be moving. So when Madison didn't show up for school, the school did not raise any alarms because they assumed she'd been pulled out of school. On October 16th, 2009, 8 days after the Jamisons had left their house to go scout out this property in Red Oak, a couple of hunters in the Panola Mountains, which is near Red Oak, found the Jamisons' truck parked on the side of the road. Now, these hunters are in the middle of nowhere, which means the truck is in the middle of nowhere. And so as they're walking over to it, they're expecting to see the owner of the truck. But as they get over to the truck, there is no owner anywhere. They called out a couple times to see if they could get this person's attention or whoever it was that owned it, and no one came over to them. They look in the truck and they see there is this very sick looking dog sitting on the back seat. It would turn out it was the Jamisons' dog. It was Maisie. Now the windows were up and the truck was locked, so the hunters called the police. Police show up, they break a window, and they get Maisie out of the truck. They give her food and water, and she would end up making a full recovery. Yes. They look in the vehicle.
Yes! The fluffy puppy lives! Alright. For any of y'all that has watched my channel for a long time, I love my animals. I do. I like animals almost more than I like people. I can't handle watching movies where the dog dies. I cannot. I don't know. I don't know why. They're just innocent creatures in my book, and it hurts. To this day, I can't watch John Wick 1. The puppy. And how he got the puppy. Oh, God. No, I can't even think of it. Oh.
And all of the Jamisons' personal effects are in there. Their phones, their wallets, their jackets, their clothes. Underneath the front seat was $32,000 of cash in a bank bag. Also, they found this weird letter written by Sherilyn to Bobby that was this 11-page hate letter that basically accused Bobby of being a hermit, which seems like a strange thing to ramble for 11 pages about, but either way. The police did an initial search of the area looking for the Jamison family, but they couldn't find them. And so the running theory was they must have pulled over and walked into the woods for some reason, got turned around, and they're just lost, and we need to go find them. The police were able to use the cell phones that had been left inside of the vehicle and were able to use their GPS locations and track where the phones had been before coming to rest inside of this vehicle. And they saw that the cell phones had actually gone up the trail a little ways. They had been up towards the top of the mountain for about 15 minutes before coming back down and then wound up in the truck where they were when they were found. So the police walk up the hill to where the GPS said they had been, and they find all these footprints that look to be Madison's because there's a child's footprint as well as probably Bobby's and Sherilyn's. But they're nowhere to be found, and there's no clue of where they went after being up there. When they started scanning through each of the cell phones to see if there was any information about where they might have gone, they found on Bobby's phone a picture of Madison that was taken up at that little location that the GPS took them. The picture of Madison has been hotly contested on the internet for a long time now. It's hard to tell in the image if Madison is happy or sad. It's also unclear based on her body language if her parents are taking the photo or if this was kind of staged by someone else. So between the GPS showing that they had been at the top...
Yeah, because, I mean, kids are finicky when it comes to things.
That the GPS took them. The picture of Madison has been hotly...
I mean, she looks pissed. But when it comes to the kids, like, they always look pissed. Even when they're happy, they got like this little pissed offness to them. I mean, she does look happy, but when you get really close in with the eyes, like, it looks like she's been crying as well. And that's that little kid pissed off stance too, like. I don't. Yeah. Like it. I don't know.
Contested on the internet for a long time now. It's hard to tell in the image if Madison is happy or sad. It's also unclear based on her body language if her parents are taking the photo or if this was kind of staged by someone else. So between the GPS showing that they had been at the top of this mountain at one point, plus the picture of Madison confirming she had at least been up there, the police started this massive search with that section on the mountain where they had been standing as kind of the center point. And they searched all around the Panola Mountains. But after an extensive search of this new area, they didn't find anything. No new leads had come in, so ultimately the search was called off. 4 years later, in November of 2013, some hikers were in the Panola Mountains, about 5 kilometers, maybe a little bit less, from where the Jamison truck was found, and they come across skeletal remains of 3 individuals. It looked like 2 adults and a child. They were laying face down side by side, and it was clear that they were not complete skeletons, but there was enough there to know for sure that these are people. As soon as the police were called, everybody assumed this has to be the Jamison family. It would actually take almost a year before they were able to confirm that yes, those bones are in fact the Jamison family. While the Oklahoma medical examiner was not able to determine a cause of death because the remains were just partial, they didn't have enough to work with, they did see that there was a big hole in the back of Bobby's skull and there was other holes in some of the other bones that many people assumed were from bullets, but it was never determined if that actually was what it was from. As soon as it came out that it was the Jamison family's remains, the first prominent theory was that this had to have been a murder-suicide, where Sherilyn, who was mad at Bobby, she wrote that hate-filled 11-page letter that was found in the car. You know, she's unstable from not taking her medication to combat her bipolar disorder. She seems like the person that would take her family out and then turn on herself. But all of her family said she would never harm her daughter. I mean, maybe she would have harmed Bobby, but she never would have harmed her daughter. Also,
I didn't mean to laugh. Maybe him, but not. But that's the thing, when it comes to bipolar, sometimes it doesn't matter if you think they would or not. It's bipolarism. You become a completely different person. I dealt with it my whole life from my mother, and there was times where sweetest person you could ever dream of being around, and then there was times like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It was I would sit in my room with my door locked because I was scared. And I mean, I love my mommy. Don't ever get me wrong. No one ever take that the wrong way, but shit does happen. And I knew I didn't understand whenever I was little. I understood it more as I grew up. That whenever, yeah, that's my mom, but whenever the bipolar kicks in, it's also not my mom. And oh, you would be surprised the extents that bipolar can take people sometimes. And I don't think anyone ever realizes it because a lot of people just try to shrug off bipolar as, there's tricky slope. I don't want to finish. But a lot of people don't look at bipolar as something that's that bad. Oh, it can be controlled by medicine. Okay. And eventually you get used to your medicine, or the medicine doesn't work, or you've lost too much weight, or you've gained too much weight, or something has happened and the medicine doesn't work. And a lot of people don't realize that. I mean, my mom first, okay, little tangent of a story. Every, I dealt with it probably, I mean, before I was 8, most definitely, but I really vividly remember from 8 years on and on up. And whenever I was probably about 10 years old, I remember driving across the bridge, and my mom had just got her license because my father had some health problems and he had a few heart attacks and he wasn't allowed to drive no more. My mom had never had a driver's license up until that point. And we was driving across the bridge and she just starts to slow down. She's like, looks me dead in my eye. Bubby. My mom always called me Bubby. Yeah, Mom. You love me, don't you? Yeah, with all my heart and soul. You know that, from here to the moon and back. That was always my answer. I'm glad to hear that. Okay. Why? Well, if you didn't, I was going to throw you out there into the water, watch you die. I'm like, oh, shit. And, we get back, I tell Dad about it, and Dad's like, oh, shit. And, the mom's next doctor visit, well, evidently, all the stress from my dad having the stroke and everything else, it had messed with her a little bit. And the medicine that she was on was no longer, it was helping to an extent. It was helping enough to where she didn't realize that it really wasn't helping the way it should have been. And just little things like that can happen. So you never really truly know, because whenever that bipolar kicks in, it is your parent, it is your loved one, it is whatever, but it also isn't at the same time. I know isn't a word, is not at the same time. They're grammar people.
So why would you have brought your dog along and left your dog in the car and $32,000 of cash in the car? So that doesn't fit that scenario at all. The next theory was, well, maybe they just pulled over, walked into the woods for some reason, and then got lost and died of exposure. And that's still definitely a possible theory, except at the time they went missing, the temperatures were very mild. They were not dropping below freezing at night. It didn't rain very much, so it was kind of perfect conditions to be lost in the woods. It would have taken quite a while for them to...
I mean, it's as fucked up as it is to say. Yeah, it really is. You don't want to be wet and then get chilly, because then chilly turns into, oh, damn, I'm cold. I mean, if you're going to get lost in the woods, you want to be more mild, more tepid. He's right. Perfect conditions to be lost. As bad as it is to say. If there's clouds, it's harder to see your stars, see where you're going. You can try to triangulate a little bit better. If it's cloudy and cold and everything else, it's awful. I've been lost in the woods. No more. By habit.
Die from exposure. And if you add in the fact that they were searching that area that they were found in pretty extensively within a few days of them going missing. If they had been lost and were only a few kilometers from the road, they would have been found in that search, but they weren't. The next theory that friends and family of the Jamison family predominantly believe is they were kidnapped. That maybe, they were driving on that road and someone flagged them down, whether it was someone they knew or someone that did not seem threatening, that caused them to get out of their car and come over to them, leaving their car the way it was with all of their belongings inside and with their dog inside, shut the door, they're not threatened. They walk over to this person or this group, and then something happens where they are either against their will or they're complicit, and they walk into the woods, never to go back to their truck, and then they ultimately pass away in the woods just a few kilometers away. However, none of those theories can account for the very bizarre video footage that they have of the Jamison family on the day they left their house to go check out the property in Red Oak. So on October 8th, 2009, the video shows Bobby and Sherilyn making multiple trips, about 20 or more, from their house to their truck, where they're loading gear into their truck. But they appear to be almost in a trance, which is what the sheriff said when he first saw the video. They're walking back and forth and they're carrying their stuff into the truck, but periodically they're making trips without carrying anything. They're just walking to the truck with nothing in hand, looking at the truck, and then walking back to the house. And then they come back out and they have something in their hands, and then the next trip they have nothing. And periodically on their trek back and forth, they would just stop and just turn and look off into the distance, not interacting with each other. Bobby and Sherilyn haven't spoken to each other at all. They're just doing this weird trance-like commute back and forth between truck and house before ultimately they load up the truck and they do leave. A lot of people speculated that, well, it looks like Bobby and Sherilyn must have been using drugs. But when they first found the truck and they searched the Jamison's truck and they searched the Jamison family house, there was no traces of drugs anywhere, and their family said there's no history of drug abuse. There was also a theory that perhaps the Jamison family got tied up in a cult, and that was why they were moving and they were going to live this minimalist lifestyle, and they had brought cash to give to this cult, but in fact they had actually been the target of the cult, and that was what led to their demise. Or maybe they were complicit and they wanted to sacrifice themselves or something, but no one really knows. So these are...
That is a damn good possibility. What was that one, the number 14 guy, Prophet 14, Saint 14, whatever his name, number 9. I don't know. There was this one where he, I think, bought an island or some shit. And, I mean, people would pay him to be a part of his cult. And Brother 14? Brother 11? I don't remember right offhand. But it could be something kind of like that. Yeah, I didn't think about cult. I mean, and, even though the white supremacist dude had a rock solid alibi, I'm sure he knows other supremacist people. I mean, you don't just get one, right? I mean, they have friends, and usually you make friends with people that like the same things you like. So he could have been like, I know they're going to look into me right off the bat, so how about this? You all go kill them motherfuckers, and I'll stay here. That way I have an alibi. But then that also, I mean, they would have probably took the money. If it was a robbery, they probably would have took the money. The dog lived, though. And the little girl, she did look like, anyone who has kids knows that look. That's that child fuck you look that they give you. Something is not going the way they want it to. Man, this is not one of those too many what if videos. Rabbit holes.
Only a handful of the theories of what could have happened to the Jamison family. So what I want to know is, do you agree with any of them? Or do you have your own theory of what could have happened to the Jamison family? Let me know in the comments. I will get back to all the early commenters. So get in there and give me your best theories. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more like
Chupacabra. I figure I'll throw my hat into the ring. Oh, man. I mean, there's so many endless possibilities on what it could have been. And I mean, the cult thing does kind of sound 100% plausible. I mean, a lot of cults are like that. You got paid to get in them. I mean, they have to sustain themselves, one way or the other. But normally they keep the people. I mean, they want to be a cult. They want to get bigger, but it could have been like a fake cult. Like, yeah, bring the money, do this, do that. They could have parked down there and met him up there, and they was like, well, where's the money? And pulled guns and killed him. And then they just never told him where they parked the car, so they didn't know where it was at. Oh, this is where I love my community. You guys always come up with some amazing theories, and yeah, we're about to just rename this to the Big Brain Channel because y'all come up with some amazing theories that are 100% plausible, like 100%. So instead of me sitting here jabbering on for the next 14 hours, because we know I could, about what I think it could have been, I want to hear what you guys think it could have been. Like, seriously. But the puppy lived. The whatever it was did not want the puppy. The puppy lived. So, most definitely, y'all, tell me what you think. Leave it in the comments down below, because if I continue on, I am going to go down that rabbit hole. Just call me Alice. Just call me Alice. Because, whew, I love stories like this because they make your brain go places where you don't think it normally will. And I love that. I love thinking outside the box. You got to think outside the box. All right. If y'all enjoyed today's video as much as I enjoyed today's video, please leave a thumbs up. If you're a fan of the spooky, scary, strange, terrain, or disturbing, as weird things that just make me go down a rabbit hole, because I'm sure some, if not most, if not all of you that watch this channel go down the rabbit hole just a little bit with me. I hope. Nobody wants to go down that hole alone. All right. So yeah, I don't even know. Like, my brain is going too many places. I don't know. Like, why else would they have that much money? Like, you're not just going to walk up and say, here's $32,000, we want that. I mean, there's a process. I know. I bought a house. It's not that easy. I don't know. All right. If you're a fan of the spooky, scary, strange, range, please think about subscribing. As always, be good to one another. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Oh, God. Yep, there's the rabbit hole. I'm going. Yep. Son of a mother hugger. Every time. Stop letting me pick out videos myself. It's not good for anyone. It's not.